Okay. There seems to be a presumption in modern martial arts, MMA, BJJ, where everything has to be made of plastic. So, I think that the MMA, that's where just the gyms, dojos, or whatever they are called. There's this very strange invisible label that everything has to be made of plastic. Then everything has to be devoid of nature. Again, this invisible label, why it's invisible and just assumes, very odd. And it's in all the throughout the West, all the MMA centres, just everyday people and different levels, like intermediate, beginner, advanced level, right? This very, very odd, in a way, reminds me of Rocky IV in a kind of way. So, but there's again this invisible label, this narcissistic assumption that it has to be made of plastic. It has to not have any nature, no trees or greenery, or it has to all be plastic, modern, electric light, all this weird stuff. Again, this invisible label, very, very odd to me. Don't understand it. It must be a neurotypical thing, but it seems to go hand in hand with this like, again, invisible assumption. This like a tradition, which you can see on a lot of, say, anti-HEMA videos or anti-kung fu videos and criticisms, right? Because modern systems and traditional both have their pros and cons, because everything has its pros and cons, right? So the like really neurotic anti-tradition position it's very over the top. It's very OTT, but it's almost artificial. Like, it's so OTT that it's like artificial, So yeah, and there's no reason why they can't go together. You can have no-gi wrestling or Western wrestling, and the MMA, the modern people, the no-gi and the Western wrestling from the modern martial arts people, and this obsession as well in the modern martial arts of this unarmed sort of combat sport. That invisible label is very odd too. This, we just have to assume it's all made of plastic, it's all unarmed. We have to wear gloves and hand, all this weird assumption stuff. I don't understand it at all. Again, it must be a neurotypical thing. It confuses the flip out of me, but not my culture, I suppose, antique culture. But assumptions of the plastic stuff and the non-nature and in the modern practice rooms and all this weird stuff with the modern martial arts. It's very strange. Again, all these assumptions that like unwritten rules. It has to be unarmed. It has to be made of plastic. It has to not have nature in it. It has to be not even like neutral towards tradition, but like hostile, again, invisibly unsaid rule, but it's there nevertheless. Very strange, quite neurotic, I would say, but they can be symbiotic, co-op. They can be a friendly sort of co-op thing. As I say, you can do modern martial arts. I don't even like that term, because it doesn't just imply like the unarmed MMA stuff. It can also have other things in it. So I don't like invisible prefixes like narcissistic assumptions. Don't like them, but again, yeah, it's it is what it is. But the other thing that bridges the gap between the two systems, where they don't have to be at odds, they can be symbiotic and have a sort of healthy co-op kind of thing going on, where they can help each other, which is the ideal thing. It's not healthy to be at odds, is what I've invented, the system, if you say, or concept, if you want, called semi-unarmed. I've invented a lot of things, but that's one of them, okay? Invented the term, if you like, system, term, concept, whatever you want to call it, right? Semi-unarmed bridges the gap between, as say, the modern arts and the traditional. So not only WMA or HEMA, dagger and knife stuff, and also short swords. That's modern Western wrestling and the no-gi stuff can translate to that, because you're double wrist control here, no-gi wrist control, and also your Russian 2-on-1. They can work well with medieval grappling and medieval wrestling. Not invisible prefix of medieval Western wrestling, because I also mean the samurai grappling jiu-jitsu, also the Chinese china, so within Kung Fu. So I'm not invisibly prefixing it as Western medieval wrestling yet. Multiple cultures, Filipino, Kali systems, the Dumog, all these things, okay? Medieval, all around, Hindu martial arts, even again, weapons grappling, semi-unarmed. So semi-unarmed really is one between two. So like a HEMA knife or a HEMA dagger, or any other culture's equivalent of the traditional weapons. So sort of knife, dagger, and short sword. In Japan, you would say a tanto, a samurai dagger, right? And again, any other culture's equivalent of these things, right? So again, to invent this term that, to my knowledge, I have invented, semi-unarmed, bridges the gap between traditional and modern, and it sort of gets, I would like to think it gets rid of that animosity as well, which again is very odd, this anti-tradition sort of hatred. Not healthy, it's certainly not healthy, but they can be learn from each other in a healthy, respectful way, and that's the idea, not to be at odds with each other, but semi-unarmed, the other one is semi-open weight class and semi-unlimited time frame. I think I have 4. Semi-outdoor for martial arts, where you have like a roof but open wall, so semi-outdoor as well, but semi-unarmed, semi-open weight class, and semi-unlimited time frame. But the semi-unarmed one's the one we focus on, which means, as say, one between two. And this is how, whether it's Filipino, Kali, Chinese Kung Fu, China, Western, HEMA, medieval grappling, all this stuff, all derived from the dagger and the knife, and to an extent the short sword, like single-edged machete and short swords and things, right? Where the line between, say, dagger and like big dagger, knife, and short sword, again, different cultures see it in different ways. So it's not just even a matter of individuals within Western or within, say, samurai culture. It's different individuals. So the line can be quite blurred between like a big dagger and a short sword. So it's a very complicated issue. But those three, say, objects, short sword, knife, dagger, in all cultures of traditional martial arts, they can be simulated in modern systems as well. And obviously you've got tactical, military, police style, self-defense, all that stuff. So the tactical and the modern unarmed MMA and the traditional HEMA and Kung Fu and all that, they can all, help each other out, kind of thing. So I don't see any conflict. I see it's very odd that people want to make one between the traditional, as I say, people, what would you call it, implicit, having a go at it. Still very odd. And again, this thing of not even said, just invisibly, that, well, obviously ours is better because all our gloves and all our no-gi t-shirts, rash guards, whatever you call them, they're all made of plastic style material. So our system's better. That doesn't make any sense. But again, I guess it's neurotypical culture, which is, yeah. But this is, again, the system invention or term invention, concept invention, whatever you call, that I feel like I've come up with, semi-unarmed. And as I say, all your modern grips, two on one, Russian 2-on-1, in the gi and no gi, the 2-on-1, plus the double wrist control, all these things can be done with your medieval dagger, synthetic dagger, and your samurai tanto, your samurai dagger as well. So east and west, not exclusive to one, not exclusive to HEMA or WMA, can be done across the board, east and west, and it also bridges the gap, say, between tradition and modern. Still don't understand that obsession with plastic, but yeah, with the hypersensitivity as well, it's not. I like more organic materials like linen, and I think it's just better for the soul, in my opinion, or at least my individual view. Yeah, more just a response to, say, things that I think are maybe subconsciously, very radically anti-traditional, with the bias, with the sort of neurotic bias. Yeah, semi-unarmed is certainly the semi-open weight class. That invention is for another video, and the semi-unlimited time frame, again, a invention for another video. But this one today is to bridge the gap between traditional and modern, and as I say, HEMA knife, dagger, and short sword, all sort of, and what's the word? Sort of, short swords, medieval sort of falchion, peasant swords, peasant daggers, things like that, peasant short swords, all those stuff. It's all, as I say, got all the Western wrestling techniques, modern no-gi, everything's got all that in. So one between two is a way, as I say, semi-unarmed, so it balances this modern sort of obsession in the MMA thing with unarmed. Again, not quite sure what that's about, and it balances that with armed, but also tradition. Because in not just Cali, but in VMA, Viking martial arts, and probably Anglo-Saxon as well, and I know they are experimental archaeological replicas. They are replica systems. They're sort of died out, extinct systems, but never, just forget that for a second. They mention in their texts, as far as I'm aware, and I'm not a professor, archaeological professor, but as far as I'm aware, in the text it says never go anywhere without weapon. And in the Germanic traditions, Anglo-Saxon and Scandinavian, and I'm sure lots of cultures, right? Because, and in Philippine and Cali, when you white belt your first couple of lessons, they will tell you, you learn weapons first. Weapons are more effective, right? Whereas in karate and kung fu, you learn empty-handed first, weapon second, and you learn empty-handed in Western boxing too. That is interesting. But the Filipino Cali is very good for that, because they'll just say you learn weapons first, unarmed second, because weapons are more effective. Yeah, so yeah, it's just about bridging the gap and about calling out this hatred of tradition, which I can't understand, and again this obsession with plastic and anti-nature and sort of unarmed kind of. It's sort of not just hand to hand, but westernized. I won't even say the word Western, because it's not traditional WMA. It's sort of this modern, westernized, very strange, I mean, there's merit to the bob and the weave and the Western boxing. Well, there's merit to all that now. I'm not talking about glove boxing or sport boxing in Western boxing, but pugilism, but also which isn't necessarily fully Western, because the empty-handed Cali, when the Americans in the 1900s went over, Spanish-American War, to the Philippines, they picked up Cali techniques. So But then the Spanish brought HEMA in the colonial days. They say 1600s, they brought Western martial arts, WMA, to Philippines, but then the Philippines had their native martial arts too, so it could very well be a blend of like native Filipino and WMA from the Spanish. So it could be a sort of mixture, but there are definitely Filipino techniques in modern Western boxing. And again, as I say, if you go back further enough, then it's back to the Spanish again, but then still like a halfy hybrid between the Filipino and the Spanish colonial martial arts, WMA. But where are we? Yeah, 15. To wrap up, semi-unarmed, yeah, and 1 between 2. Also, for one final minute before the thing finishes, armoured as well. So again, to bridge the gap between tradition and modern systems, would be, say, BJJ in samurai armour, which is in judo katas, by the way. So you could argue, if judo is a modern martial art, you could argue it's in the judo kata, and it is in the judo kata samurai armour, and the samurai dagger, the tanto, so, and the short sword as well, the wakizashi. So they're all in judo. As well, as I say, as the WMA, the HEMA armour, doing Western wrestling techniques and BJJ techniques in. Well, obviously, the Western wrestling goes very well with the HEMA armour, and the BJJ goes very well with the samurai armour and the tanto. So, but they all cross over. But that's another way to bridge tradition with modern and also semi-unarmed, as I say, 1 between 2, where there's one, which is where all the Filipino Kali, Dumag, China, Kung Fu, and Western medieval grappling all come from. Is the unarmed comes from the weapons, right? The dagger and various short weapons. So again, semi-unarmed and 1 between 2 bridges this gap. As well as I say, practicing Western wrestling, BJJ in respectively, say, samurai armour and WMA armour. How to get funding for that, I don't know. But again, this is my invention, is semi-unarmed as well as doing these modern BJJ and Western wrestling techniques in armour with 1 between 2. Half armour and full armour, it doesn't really matter. And getting the funding for that, again, I don't know, but this is my invention, my system. I invent this concept, system, approach, methodology, call it what you want, but this is my invention, semi-unarmed, as well as like, yeah, BJJ people and Western wrestling people and modern martial arts people, MMA, doing in armour. Yeah. So eventually, I'll probably be the neurotypical translator, but basically that when it catches on, it'll just get bigger and bigger. That's my contribution to the martial arts world, or one of them. The other is multi-style, sort of like different weapons, odd matched weapons, like one-handed versus two-handed, etc. So non-same weapons, whatever you call it. That's another thing I'm interested in, but yeah. I'd say, so number 1, we have semi-unarmed and balancing one object between 2, 1 between 2, so semi-unarmed as opposed to fully unarmed. Then the other one is the Western wrestling, BJJ, and MMA modern martial arts in armour, so that what a takedown feels like in armour. It's just like contrast between gi and no gi. If you only do one by itself, I've ran over the 1 minute mark. I did not intend to do that, but it just happened because of so much information to go through is why I ran over that mark. But the contrast between gi and no gi will never really be understood if you only do 100% pure gi or 100% pure no gi. So when you do sort of balance, you get an understanding of how things work, like bare knuckle versus glove, right? So if you do your throws and takedowns for my dialogue, they're not the same. I don't like the way language is sort of lazily used with the word takedown. I don't like that, but throw is a strike. Throw is a strike. It's hitting someone on the floor, so throw is not a grapple, it's a strike. Takedown, if it's a sort of slow, controlled drag down, then that is a grapple. So throws are strikes, and modern judo is a striking system because 90% of it is standing. Throws from starting stand-up position. You start in standing position. So modern judo is essentially a striking art. And Western wrestling, I would argue, is a striking art. Now, there are grapples in it, like turnovers and headlocks and blah, blah, blah. But a throw, whether it's a Western wrestling throw or judo throw, throws are strikes. No doubt about that. They're not grapples. But yeah, I've run over quite a bit there, and that wasn't intentional, but it is important to get through all the information. What else? Yeah, so it's like the third gi or third no gi, whatever you call it, because you've got gi, no gi, and then armor. Yeah, just so you understand what it feels like to have it on, and then you contrast that with on and off, and then it gives you a good all-round view that you would not have if you didn't do it. Yeah, so it's like, if you want to call it the third uniform, if you like. Yeah. So there's no reason why modern martial arts practitioners of the modern systems can't, as I say, find balance. Those again the traditional, but the bias seems to lay, in my view, from what I understand, from my POV that I've seen, it seems to be very heavily, anti-tradition, and there's no need for that. And that's not objective or neutral. That is just, for me, that's sort of biased and unhealthy and counterproductive. So yeah, again, my contribution, and then one day all the BJJ gyms and Western wrestling gyms and modern martial arts MMA are all doing WMA armor and samurai armor grappling. It's just a matter of time, as I say, just my invention kind of thing. Again, how you get funding for the armor and that, I don't know, but as I say, there's a really good contrast and a really good context and an all-round view that you will not have if you don't do it, and also a very good context of time period, modern versus old school. Yeah, again, you will know. So just remember me when it's popular, because I kind of came up with this invention. So yeah, semi-unarmed and armored. Semi-unarmed and armored with modern martial arts techniques. Yeah, as well as tactical as well, like military police style self-defense and stuff. Because all those like military shovel, helmet, bayonet, military single-edge machete, all these things, baton, nightstick, all these all translate again to WMA and to BJJ, HEMA, Jiu-Jitsu, WMA. They all cross over to each other. Yeah, so that's the other one. Is a sort of modern HEMA, if you like, or modern Jiu-Jitsu is the tactical stuff. But I say they all blend into each other. It's all about 1 between 2, CQC, close quarters combat, or CQB, close quarters battle. And it's also about, it's just about education at the end of the day, And again, my contribution to the HEMA, WMA, and also modern martial arts, my contribution to that realm that wouldn't exist otherwise, because if I don't put it forward, the invention, then it dies out, which is what a lot of Chinese kung fu systems went through. They died out because people didn't teach them, or people forgot about them, or people weren't willing to, or people weren't willing to learn, or a mixture of everything. So we don't want it to die out. So this is why I am. inventing it at this moment. And that's all, I think. So we'll call that off. And I went way over time, but it was important to get the information through. So thank you for bearing with me. Yeah.